Hello, good morning. Sometimes I read these and sometimes I see a YouTube video and I really dislike the automatic computer reading voice, the one that sounds like Siri or worse than Siri. So I thought that I'd give you my own narration of the latest Benjamin Fulford article. It was recently posted in full at Kai, I don't know how to pronounce this, Calliope World WordPress. I've posted the link in the description below. But first, I'd like to take you to this article here. With Operation in Syria, Erdogan shows his new power over Turkey's military. Yes, Turkey has invaded Syria. Obama said there would be no boots on the ground, but of course there is American troops on the ground. They are overthrowing Bashar al-Assad, the democratically elected president of Syria. And this crisis has been fomented for several years now. If you want to look more into that, you can definitely do. All you got to do is Google. All you got to do is Google. So I'm going to jump right into this. The main factions in the battle for the planet Earth and their current status, posted by Benjamin Fulford, August 22nd to 2016. The ongoing battle for control of the financial system, and thus control over the process of deciding what we as a species will be doing in the future, is reaching a climax. For this reason, this might be a good time to look at who the major players are and what their position is. First of all, let us look at the Kazarian Nazi faction that took over control of the European, Japanese, and American systems following September 11th, 2001, false flag attack in New York. This faction is led by George Bush Sr., David Rockefeller, and their lackeys. Their plan was to reduce the world's population by 90% through starvation, disease, and war. Ample proof of this has been provided to various police, military, and intelligence agencies around the world. Since the Nazi takeover of the United States was completed, with the election stolen by George Bush Jr. in the year 2000, the government of the United States has tried to murder us through the release of bioweapons, including SARS, bird flu, Ebola, etc. To engineer mass starvation, they released various crop diseases in the hopes of devastating agricultural production. They also paid farmers around the world generous subsidies to produce bioethanol instead of food. This led to starvation in 33 countries that was only stopped when a World Bank whistleblower pointed out that it was the subsidies for bioethanol that were responsible. This group has also attempted to start nuclear war with manufactured incidents in North Korea, Iran, Syria, etc. They are now trying to accomplish this in the South Sea of China by offering Australia, ASEAN, Japan, and Korea as prizes to China if they start a world war. This writer was invited to join the NotSee Cabal by agents working for Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller. They explained that it was necessary to kill 90% of human beings in order to save the environment. They also explained that most humans did not produce anything useful and were of inferior stock. The genetic quality of the human race could be raised by getting rid of these useless eaters, they explained. The members of this group are descended from a tribe of pastoralists known as the Hyksos, 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 who mastered the art of enslaving humans many thousands of years ago. They do this by controlling their food and information supply, and by monopolizing organized violence, armies, police, secret services, etc. The real reason they want to kill 90% of the population was that they were afraid of losing control over the planet as groups like the Chinese, the Muslims, and the Hindus, who were not under their control, grew in population and power. The Hyksos worship a goat-faced being with a forked tail, known over the ages by such names as Set, Baal, Marduk, Lucifer, Satan, etc. They also practice human sacrifice, sometimes on a vast scale, such as in an engineered world war. There are probably no more than 1 million members of this group, but they occupy controlling positions in many institutions of government, finance, religion, media, etc. throughout the world. Many of them are erroneously labeled as Jews. To protect important people, we call them the Kazarian Mafia. The top members of this group now have a 1-ton bounty on each of their heads, and their names have been publicly listed up. The main factions opposing this group in the Western world are the Christians, members of the Jewish faith who worship Yahweh, as well as atheists who believe only in the Golden Rule. The elite members of this group tried to stop the planned massacre of useless eaters by proposing a carbon tax to raise funds to pay poor countries to preserve and expand their forests. The top people behind the global warming faction were from members of European aristocratic and royal families who supported Christian as opposed to satanic ideals. They lost the power struggle in 2000 when their man, Al Gore, had the presidential election stolen from him. The main problem with this group was that they created a lie about carbon causing global warming to promote their tax. Their carbon trading scheme was also riddled with fraud. Nonetheless, this group has considerable power exercised through the non-satanic part of the Freemasons, together with the elements of the Catholic Church who had not been taken over by the Satanists. This group managed to replace Pope Benedict in 2013. His replacement, Pope Francis, immediately began purging the Catholic Church of pedophiles, cleaned up the Vatican Bank, and reached deals with Cuba and Colombia to stop the flow of drug money to the Bush Nazi faction of the CIA. There is talk of Francisco's involvement in Argentina's dirty war, but so far his actions show that he is trying to do good. However, the leadership group that put Francis in power is still pushing for world domination through a carbon tax controlled and collected in secret by them. They will not succeed with this scam because it is based on lies and remains fraudulent. The group behind Francis is also pushing to have Donald Trump elected as President of the United States. If they succeed, Trump will start arresting many of the top bosses of the Kazarian Mafia inside the US. Working in harmony with these forces is the Red and Blue from Asia and their White Dragon Society allies. The Red and Blue trace themselves back to organizations set up by Mosey around 450 BC. These groups allied themselves in the 1700s with the remnants of the Ming bureaucracy, army, and navy in a fight to overthrow the Manchu conquerors of China. After many bloody, failed attempts, they finally succeeded in 1911 when they overthrew the last emperor. This group then went largely dormant. However, they came back into full war recently after they found proof the Bush regime had been spreading the bioweapon SARS in an attempt to kill the people of Asia. They also learned about the Kazarians' genocidal plans when they wiretapped the goings of at the Bohemian Grove after Bush Jr. came to power. The Red and Blue were later joined by the Dragon family, which is a confederation of the old royal families of the world. When the Asians sought allies in the West in their fight against the Kazarians, the White Dragon Society was formed. The White Dragon Society is a loose coalition that has its roots in the ancient traditions of the West that supported doing good works of all sorts. These White Knights were responsible for such things as the Magna Carta, democracy, chivalry, protection of the weak and the poor, and the need to fight, if absolutely necessary, to protect all that is right and decent. White Dragon Society members are now in control of most of the U.S. military-industrial complex, with the exception of the mercenaries working for the Bush-Clinton Nazi Mafia. The White Dragon Society works in tandem with the Russian security services, British secret services, Freemasons, the real Muslim secret societies, as opposed to the fake Muslim Kazarian-financed ISIS terrorists, Japanese secret societies, the Illuminati, the Italian white nobility, the royal families of Europe, various martial arts societies, etc. The Kazarians have now been reduced to a few pockets of control in Washington, D.C., New York, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and a few rogue states. If the Asians and their White Dragon Society allies made a big push, it could be game over for the Kazarians and their ancient rule of terror and slavery as early as this year. Ending their rule would be one of the biggest human events in history during the past thousands of years. It could lead to world peace and an era of unparalleled prosperity. This year's autumn campaign will be one of the most important yet in this long hybrid war for control of the planet. This time, real and total victory is a very realistic possibility. If everybody does their part, we will be able to soon start a new age, a golden age, an age of wonder.